Tanse. Good afternoon. I'm Krisanashkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. A groundbreaking, years in the making event is taking place in the Grassy Narrows First Nation today. Indigenous Services Minister Patty Hajdu is in the Northern Ontario community northeast of Kenora as the long-awaited construction of a Mercury care home gets underway. An agreement for a health center to deal with health issues caused by mercury contamination from the paper mill in Dryden was signed back in 2020. The $82 million Mercury Care Home and Wellness Center is a, quote, specialized facility dedicated to addressing the community's unique health needs associated with mercury exposure due to pollutants released into the English Wabigoon River system. The federal government is also announcing $68.9 million for a community trust fund to operate the facility. The Home and Wellness Center will provide holistic care and treatment, assisted living supports, rehabilitation, and traditional healing and cultural activities. APTN News is at the groundbreaking event and will have more for you tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. After weeks of threats, U.S. President Donald Trump has imposed 25% tariffs on Canadian goods on Tuesday and 10% on energy and critical minerals. In Ottawa, leaders were swift to respond with how they will fight back on the tariffs. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
At a Tuesday morning press conference, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had this message for American people.
We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country.
To combat the Trump tariffs, Trudeau announced the government will be imposing counter tariffs on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, which will rise to $155 billion in 21 days. The Prime Minister had these words for Canadians.
I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help.
At a press conference immediately after Trudeau's, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said his party supports counter tariffs, but money collected by the government should not be used to increase spending.
Counter tariffs must not be a cash cow for the government. Almost every penny of the tariffs collected should go to tax cuts, with a small sum set aside for targeted relief to workers hardest hit by the trade war. None of the money should go to new government spending and programs. We must not allow politicians to dishonestly use this crisis to once again launch a debt-fueled, money-printing spending spree.
At another event down the road from Parliament, Indigenous leaders were at an unrelated press conference where they were asked about the Trump tariffs. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak called for Indigenous and non-Indigenous unity during these challenging times.
Look, we won't defeat Trump's colonialism with more colonialism in Canada. And I think that it's time that First Nations people take their rightful place in this country. And I think today needs to signal that. Any talk of annexing our country, well, we're here. First Nations have always been here. We'll continue to be here. And, Canada is on First Nations land.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Provincial leaders also held their own news conference on Tuesday, responding to the U.S. tariffs against Canada. The Manitoba government is also echoing the words of the federal government. On Tuesday, they have put a giant Canadian flag over the steps of the legislature. Premier Wab Kinew says this is about showing solidarity, not just with the federal government, but other premiers and provinces. Also on Tuesday, both Manitoba and Ontario began removing American alcohol off the shelves as one of its first moves of retaliation. Kinew and his government says Manitoba is playing the long game when it comes to fighting back against President Donald Trump.
So the leverage that we have as Canadians is our unity. It's looking at those natural resources, it's looking at energy, and it's using all of those tools in a smart fashion, which doesn't necessarily mean using them all on day one. We got to play the long game here as well, using them in a smart fashion to exert that leverage and overcome this adversity. So first step is unity. First step is showing that we're willing to stick up for ourselves, and then just being able to play those cards in successive rounds to get the outcome that protects your jobs and protects your family.
A man has died in Manitoba following a dog attack in a First Nation last month. Manitoba RCMP say a 56-year-old man was attacked by 5 dogs outside a home on February 21st in Kisi-Kuwinin Ojibwe Nation, 110 kilometers northwest of Brandon. When officers arrived on scene, they found the man lying motionless and face down in the snow while the dogs still attacked him. EMS could not reach him because the dogs were aggressive, so they tried to distract them with an air horn and siren. An RCMP member shot and killed 2 of the dogs. The other 3 ran away. The man, whose name has not been released, was rushed to hospital in Brandon and then Winnipeg. However, he later died in a Winnipeg hotel with his family on February 23rd. The 2 dogs put down are being examined. The investigation continues. A Saskatoon man serving a life sentence for the brutal murder of an Indigenous woman 24 years ago has been denied day parole. A warning to our viewers, the details here are disturbing. Kenneth McKay was found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of 21-year-old Crystal Paskiman in December of 2000. McKay killed Paskiman after the 2 met at a Saskatoon bar. During the previous trial, the Crown prosecutor argued McKay tried to have sex with Paskiman. A struggle ensued. He punched her and then drove over her with his truck. He burned the body, and it was later found in the outskirts of Saskatoon in a snow-covered ditch. McKay was granted parole in 2023, but it was revoked after his case manager learned he was harassing women at work. The parole board has since found McKay has a risk to reoffend. McKay was hoping to be released in Vancouver Island if approved for day parole. It was day 3 of the PDAC mining conference in Toronto on Tuesday. While thousands of investors and executives continued to meet inside the Toronto Convention Centre, many in opposition against resource extraction continued to speak out from the outside. Norwegian Sámi leaders were in Canada this week to announce their opposition to Blue Moon Metals, a Canadian mining company that bought the controversial project, a copper mining development in northern Norway. According to the Sámi, the proposed copper mine would threaten sacred reindeer herding grounds. Leading the delegation is Biska Nilas, a member of the Sámi Parliament. Although it's still in the planning stages, he says the Sámi have been fighting against the project for 2 decades.
The Sámi people and our people lives in Norway, Sweden, Finland and Russia. So we are colonized by 4 states at once. So that's why we're here, to inform the investors, to inform possible investors that this is a project that they shouldn't go through with because of the hazards both with nature but also with Indigenous people's rights and then especially reindeer herding, which is protected by human rights and Indigenous people's rights. It seems when we have been in dialogue with the Canadians before that they were not informed of all the trouble that mine will cause. So we are obligated to tell the possible shareholders and investors about the mess they are getting themselves into. So that's basically why we're here.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go to www.aptnnews.ca. And you can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. With the beginning of the new fire season here, there is some comfort in Alberta for now. That story when we come back. Welcome back. The University of Manitoba has laid out its framework for integrating Indigenous ways into its everyday activities.
We have to take action.
400 elders, knowledge keepers, students, staff, and others helped launch the university's Truth and Reconciliation Framework this week. It is designed to integrate Indigenous cultures, language, and knowledge into aspects of the university community. The framework focuses on rethinking and removing barriers to facilitate the inclusion of Indigenous knowledges and ways of being. It also works to attract and retain Indigenous students, staff, and senior leadership, and empower learning through history, oral traditions, language, legal traditions, technological knowledge, and science. The framework also aims to establish spaces which incorporate Indigenous art and cultural design, foster a healthier work-life balance, and are free from racism. Fire season began in Alberta on March 1st, and with higher than normal snowfall, it began with 7 contained wildfires across the province compared to more than 50 active fires a year ago. On Tuesday, the Alberta Forestry and Parks Minister announced increased funding for wildfire prevention, including construction of fire guards in several communities across the province. The province has increased funding for its Fire Smart program, designed for owners to protect their homes and property. It's hoped that these efforts will help prevent another massive destruction like last year in the town site of Jasper, that destroyed a third of the popular tourist destination.
Our government is building on our commitment to prepare for, prevent, and mitigate the impacts of catastrophic wildfires. This year, we are allocating a new historic high of $160 million in base funding for wildfire personnel, equipment, training, and contracts for things like aircraft and night vision equipped helicopters. Alberta is home to some of the best firefighting personnel in the world, and our teams are well trained, well equipped, and ready to respond to any wildfire incidents.
The Native Women's Association of the Northwest Territories has recently organized Fishing for Wellness, a 2-day event on the land that promotes physical and spiritual well-being through traditional practices and teachings. Our APTN Yellowknife video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz has more on that story.
Over 100 people came to the Con Mine Wharf in Yellowknife for the last weekend of February to watch and participate in some on-the-land activities.
Especially when it's windy.
Clayton Bell, whose father is Cree and originally from Saskatchewan, led an ice fishing workshop in the ways that had been passed down through his family.
Use them out with your thumb and your index finger.
In the next tent over, a wolf and fox skinning workshop was led by Nathan Kogiak, a local and Iqaluit trapper with years of experience. Both men share their thoughts on the name of the event, Fishing for Wellness, and how being on the land can contribute to that.
I think being on the land is one of the best things that you can do for people, to get out and reconnect with nature. You know, especially around Yellowknife, when you get out of cell phone range so quickly, you're not so dependent on that phone in your hand.
For myself, like for a person's mental health, being out, being physical, chiseling through that ice, you're burning off energy. You know, you're dragging the nets. It's good work. So you know, that's going to help with your mental health, your overall physical well-being. So it's great. I enjoy it. I think it's helpful for everybody, and the more people you have helping, the better.
In addition to wellness, they also explain why they think it's important to keep the practices of their people alive and pass them on to the next generation.
For me, the youth are our future, so to teach them these skills, to be able to have the ability to take care of themselves in the future is really important. So for them to get in there, and they seemed to be the most engaged in this program. They got in there, they were cleaning the fish, getting their hands dirty, and smiling the whole time they're doing it, which was pretty cool. So for me to be able to teach them and give them that exposure is what this is all about.
So it would be really unfortunate to lose that, you know, with me. You know, that's why all this information I have, I want to teach other people so they can have more skill sets, more life skills, and with that you get more confidence, and with more confidence you get higher self-esteem. You feel better about yourself.
Nathan shared the one thing that he wanted people to take away from the event.
Empathy and understanding. There's a lot of cultures in Yellowknife, and you have to be really open to those cultures to understand the people and their cultures. So if you're open-minded, I think that's probably the main thing, is just being aware that there's more than just one culture out here.
Bruce de la Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Cool story, Bruce. Thank you for that. We now want to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on the website, we asked, should Arctic sovereignty be high on the next federal government's list of priorities? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. Have your say at www.aptnnews.ca, where our list of web questions is posted on the homepage. Mohawk rocker Derek Miller is up next with our Tina House. That interview after this short break. Starting on the east, Charlottetown 2, Halifax, Sun and 5. La Grande River -16, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, rain and -9. Saguenay -3, Gaspé -1. Rain in Toronto at 5, Peterborough 3. Sudbury 2, Sioux Lookout -8. Puckatawagan -5, Thompson -9. Princess Harbour -9, Gimli -10. Yorkton -8, Saskatoon -9. -17 in Stony Rapids, Uranium City -18. -10 in Fort Chipewyan, Fort McMurray 0. 5 in Medicine Hat, Edmonton 5. 13 in Kamloops, Campbell River 9. 4 in Fort Nelson, Smithers 7. -2 in Watson Lake, Dawson -4. -11 in Watee, Wrigley -7. -14 in Tuktoyaktuk, Pawatuck -23. Cambridge Bay -21, Baker Lake -23. And Resolute -28, Aglulik, -19. Thanks for staying with us. Mohawk rocker Derek Miller was just in Vancouver recently, and APTN's Tina House had a chance to catch up with him to talk about what he's been up to and how he got his start in show business.
Thank you. We're so excited to have the one and only Derek Miller joining us today. Derek, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So tell me what you've been up to.
I built a studio on Six Nations, and I've been recording a lot of musicians, and I've been just making music and learning about my culture and racing cars and just generally getting into whatever ballyhoo I can.
Amazing. And you've been getting into the ballyhoo for quite some time. How did you start out in this business?
I started when I was 13. I was playing in bars and stuff by 15, and Elaine Bombury, she got me out into the TV. Much Music came by. Next thing you know, I'm recording and off to the races, and here we go.
Wow. I mean, I remember back in 2010 seeing you on that pedestal at the closing ceremonies for the 2010 Olympics, and I was like, now there's a superstar right there. Derek, you've rocked the stages all over the world. What do you plan on doing now next for your music career?
I'm going to do another record for sure. I got a lot of songs. I call it loading up the guns because there's just a bunch of songs that I have written, and I've been working with Gary Farmer. I'm going to Keith-Sakola after this interview in Arizona and record him. I'm going to be recording as many people as I can, collaborating with as many people as I can, promoting the great piece, my culture, being Ongwe Hongwe, Haudenosaunee. We always talk about in our culture that it condenses into just being the good mind, having a good mind. With a good mind, you can have peace. And with a peace in your mind, you can have it outer as well. So that's essentially the mission, I think. Especially in these days, it seems like America's a rogue state. And in 2025, we had written a song, me and Gary, called "Let Love Come to You," and that song is pretty right on right now. And that's the main salve for me has been medicine, and it's the major medicine in my pouch. So I don't know, I just it's just been music for me, and just making a living doing that, and trying to bring in as many people as I can and have as many great experiences as I can.
Amazing. And here we are sitting in Granville Island in Vancouver with the beautiful ocean behind us here. We've got the mountains. Beautiful. Absolutely.
So good. Church. Welcome to my church.
Indeed, it is our church. Absolutely. Now, you had an incredible showcase the other night. We had yourself, we had Gary Farmer, Pure Fay, Murray Porter, Shakti Hayes, Lacey Hill. I mean, it was just incredible. Tell me about that showcase for you guys.
That was an amazing showcase to be able to come out here and celebrate with Gary Farmer, and acknowledging that, like, Gary, I always looked up to him. He came and picked me up when I was a kid, and he said, let's go to casino, and we've been hanging out ever since. Going to casino ever since too. But seeing artists like Gary and like Keith, Sakola, working and having solidarity, and I think that was something that was brought up in my community a lot. Was like Six Nations is a very solid, a sovereign state and sort of thing, and I have always been brought up to hold that in regard, and I've seen Gary doing that as an artist, being sovereign and working through and traveling and doing stuff. So I've always wanted to do that, and to be able to do that with him has been an amazing honor. And to be able to write and record with him has been an amazing honor as well, because we're able to, he's teaching me about my culture and being Ongwe Hongwe, and as an artist and breaking through, and being at the top of the game and being Ongwe Hongwe artist, that really makes me feel pride, because that he's worked through a lot to get there. So when you actually poke through and you're native and you go through all that stuff and you get to the top and you're like, whoa, man, that's really cool. So to be able to do that with one of my heroes is amazing. So I'm really stoked about that show, and having Pure Fay and Lacey Hill and Murray. Like, Murray's been a staple in Six Nations music for a long time. And Elaine Bombury, like I said, she's helped my career from the very beginning. So all these people, as I see and to hang out and experience life and feel all that. That was an amazing time.
Absolutely. Felt like family up there. Actually.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's amazing. Derek, some advice for some of those upcoming that look up to you and others like Gary and Murray for getting to that pedestal, reaching the top?
Man, I always get this question, but it's just always have fun. You know, don't be scared to use your voice like the birds. And say what's on your mind, and use music as a way to help heal you, and then it'll help heal heal others, and we'll help heal each other in all of this. Help heal each other. There we go.
Amazing, Derek. Always nice to see you.
Thank you.
Very, very proud of you,
Good to see you. Thank you.
Congratulations on all your success.
You too.
Really looking forward to your new albums.
Thank you.
Coming up, many albums as you're recording others.
Yeah, now go. See you.
Thank you. Back to you in the studio.
Great interview, Derek and Tina, and I love that interview spot. That's your Wednesday daytime newscast. We're back in a few hours for your evening newscast. Make sure to join us then. From all of us at APTN National News and from our reporting staff from across the country, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.